Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate how to assemble your puzzle cube using the assembly file and the assembly constraints. So first, you need to start out by going up to File and New, selecting the assembly file, hitting OK, and it will bring you into this blank screen where all of your tools are currently grayed out because it's asking you to begin your assembly. So you need to actually insert your parts. So I will hit Browse, and it should bring you to the folder where you drew everything so far. And notice I have a couple extra things than you will probably have. So what you need to actually do here is click your first part, hold in the Shift key on your keyboard, and click your last part. Notice how I have these named, by the way. You should probably go back and rename some of your parts so that they're consistent and like this with the part and then the number and the color that you're making it on the computer. Okay. With all 5 of these selected, I'm going to hit Open. And it's going to ask me to start placing these. So I'm going to click to place the first one. Notice it zoomed out a little bit. So I'll just move over here, click to place the rest, and I'm just kind of spreading these out a little bit. Okay. Now I need to zoom out, so I'm going to scroll down on, or scroll in, sorry, on the scroll bar that's on my mouse. Now you'll notice the very first one that you put in, which in my case was this red one, it's automatically locked in place. It cannot move. You notice when I click and held that, it kind of gave me that warning. The selected component is fixed. It cannot be moved. Okay. If this is a good part to start with, then this is okay. But if this isn't the one you want to start with, say you want to start with something like this, you can unfix this by right-clicking on it, and you can change this to float. And now I can move this around. Okay? And if I wanted it fixed again, or wanted a different part fixed, I would right-click on that, and I would just change it to fixed. Okay? So the red part here is actually the part that I like to start with. That's actually why it's my part number 1. Okay? And the brown piece kind of rotates around and sits up on top of here. And it goes back like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to rotate this part to get it to the basic shape that I need. So I'll go up to the Move component, click the drop down, and hit Rotate component. Okay. I'll select my brown, and I'm going to rotate it until it's somewhat in the shape that I want. So this little missing block here is actually this block right here. So this Z kind of sits up here, and then this tail goes back around this way. So now that I have this rotated in the way that I want, I'm going to hit the green check over here on the left. Okay. So this piece will actually go kind of right there. Okay. Now to constrain this, we have one constraint tool, and that is called the mate constraint. Okay. Inside of here, you can see that there are different options for the mate constraint. We are going to learn these a little bit later on, but for right now, we're just going to use the mate in its standard form. And that's quite simply because we're creating a cube. So we're only dealing with flat objects here, and the whole entire outside will be flush. Everything will be even with one another, with the next block, and so on and so on. Okay? So this piece here is actually going to be even with this piece. So I'll click on that. I'll click on that. And notice it kind of slid that over. Okay. Now I'll hit the green check. Okay. And to see what we kind of did, I'm clicking and holding down on that scroll bar on my mouse. And notice now these two sides here are perfectly even. So I can no longer move this left or right. Now you're going to say, well, what are you talking about? You're doing that right now. Actually, I'm not. Remember, we are dealing with 3D. Okay, so that means there's 3 dimensions. What's actually happening when you saw me moving it left to right was I was actually moving it forward and backwards, okay, on the Z. So that's a little bit confusing. What you need to know is that you need to try to fully constrain each part. And with this simple puzzle cube, that's actually going to occur when you add 3 different constraints to each part. So I only added 1 constraint, this wall and this wall being even. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is rotate around here, and I want to make this wall even with this wall. So with my mate tool selected, I'm going to click on that wall, click on this wall. Okay, notice this rotated a little bit. Now these are perfectly flush or even with one another. And I'll hit my green check. Okay. So you can use this to make walls or flat faces even, but you can also use the mate constraint to kind of act like glue, bringing 2 different pieces together. So this flat wall down here actually touches this right here. So I'll click both of them, and that slides right down into place. Okay. Now I'll hit my green check. And I'm going to get off of the mate constraint so you can kind of see here that now this green component is now fully defined. It cannot be moved because we fully constrain this 3 different ways. So I'm going to work my way around, and I'm going to continue to do each part, rotating each part first, and then adding my different constraints. And when you are finished, you should wind up with your actual part fully constrained like this, where when you click and hold, you cannot move it. Okay. Now, this might take you a little bit because this is one of the toughest things to do, especially so early on in the course. Okay, so help one another, ask anytime you have any questions, and good luck.